right, so hello there. It is Dr. Siobhan Parad here, founder of Relatable. And, I'm just going to say third time is a charm. This live stream was supposed to start at 12 noon Eastern. It is well after 12 noon Eastern. And this is the third time I am streaming it. So I'm really hoping that technology will cooperate with me today. This usually does not happen. But I am now live streaming from my computer, and hopefully we will not have any problems. I'm just checking to make sure that it's all working correctly right now. And while I'll do that, I'll just say hello. If this is your first time meeting me, I am a relationship expert and marriage coach, and I have the pleasure of working with women to really help them develop the mindset and skills to create a marriage that they love, a marriage that lights them up inside, a marriage where they can spend time with their husband and really be excited about having that time together, where there's not a lot of tension, where they can have conversations and their communication is great, right? Not just like okay, but great communication. And so I do that through one-on-one coaching. I also have some online courses and some other digital products. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about me and my work, you can definitely check out my website at berelatable.com. But the purpose of this live stream today is about this issue of feeling like your husband is distant. And I'm still checking to make sure that everything is going correctly. So if you are watching this live, if you could just, make a comment that you can hear me fine and that everything is going well with the technology, that would be so helpful. I'm just checking down with my phone right now to make sure. And I am going to just listen in. Okay, good. Everything's working. So fantastic. So there's a little bit of delay. So if you have any comments, just know that I will check them sort of at the end so I don't lose my place. But again, so this issue of having a husband that is distant. This is day one of a three-part series that I'm doing called Where is the Love, right? So yesterday was Valentine's Day. And I don't know how that went for you. Maybe it was great and just, the fire you needed to respark that relationship, or maybe it was a bit of a disappointment for you. But whatever the case, I figured I would kick off this series here really with the intention of providing the information and sort of mindset shifts that are necessary to reclaim more love in your marriage so that you can experience more love, because that's what we're all after, right? We didn't get married to be miserable and feel disconnected from each other. We got married to have a partner, to have someone to support us, someone we could support, and someone that we could feel excited and in love with. And so if you're in a place right now where you're feeling that your husband is a bit distant, I really want you to rest assured that the information I'm going to be sharing in this live stream and in this time we have together will hopefully provide you with a different way of thinking about it and some hope and optimism and the motivation you need to actually turn things around, because it is possible for you to do that if you're really committed and really take the information that I'm going to be delivering to heart. Okay, so I'll say that one of the biggest complaints I get is that women feel that they're not spending enough time with their husband, that their husband doesn't give them the attention that they need, that, when they're home together, they're sort of off doing their own things. And I think what most people fail to realize in many instances, not all, but in many, is that there are ways that unintentionally you may be pushing him farther away, right? And two of those ways are you either complain about the time that you're not spending together, or you begin to withdraw yourself, right? So it starts out as, maybe a subtle hint, but it eventually leads to a complaint where it's like, we don't spend enough time together. We don't go out. You don't pay enough attention to me. Those are the complaints, right? And then you withdraw. So you get to the place where you're like, well, if he's not going to make forth an effort, I'm not going to make forth an effort. So I'll just sit over here and do my thing, and he can do whatever it is he wants to do. And I believe that, the mistake that happens so much when women find themselves in this situation is that there's a focus on what the husband is not doing. He's not paying enough attention. He's the one being distant. That it's really difficult when you're looking at what he is doing. It's really difficult to sort of turn that mirror on yourself and to look at the ways that you may be directly contributing to the situation at hand. And the reality is that the things that happen in your marriage are the direct result of your behaviors and your husband's behaviors, his thoughts and perceptions and your thoughts and perceptions. And what I really want you to hone in on are the things that you have the power to control, which are your own thoughts and perceptions and your behaviors. That's it. And what I'm going to suggest as we grapple with this issue of why he's so distant, why you're feeling that your husband is so distant, is that I really want you to get to a place where you can be woman enough to own the fact that there may be something that you have done or said that was perceived by him as off-putting in some way, right? That maybe it was just one moment in time, or maybe it was a series of moments in your relationship, but there was something about how you were being, something about what you were saying that made him feel a certain way. And it doesn't mean that you were intentional about that. It could just be he misunderstood something. But essentially, what probably happened for him in his mind is one of four things. Either he felt disrespected, he felt unappreciated, he felt blamed, or he felt rejected. And I have notes. I should have said that at the beginning, but I have notes. And so if you see my eye wandering, it's just because I'm trying to make sure that I keep track, that I don't miss any important points or any details of what I really believe will help you in moving forward from this situation in your marriage. So notice or forgive me for drifting eyes, but I do really want to stay on track and make sure you get all the information that you need. It's really important to me to do that. So, those four things, again, feeling disrespected, unappreciated, blamed, or rejected, are what I like to consider distance creators in relationships, meaning that they cause tension, they cause hurt feelings, and they lead to detachment, which is what you're probably experiencing now. And when these things happen in your marriage, right, when your husband feels one of those four ways, it sends a message to him that you are not safe, right? And we all want safety and security in our relationships. And what he is walking away with is this notion that you're not there to build him up and support him, that you're going to actually chip away at that fragile male ego. And we know how fragile it is. And what it all boils down to, right, what those four distance creators all boils down to is making him feel small and insignificant. And in another workshop that I did a few months ago, I actually talked about the three most important things that your husband wants to feel from you. I could like to call them triple A, right? And the first one is he wants your admiration. The second is he wants your appreciation. And the third is he wants your approval. And so something has happened, again, either in a moment or in a series of moments that made him feel like he no longer has those things. And what I want you to do, right, if you're finding yourself in that place and you're really trying to process it and trying to figure out what went wrong, I want you to ask yourself a series of 5 questions that I've laid out for you, okay? So the first question is, what are the things that you say that may lead him to feel disrespected, unappreciated, blamed, or rejected? So I just want you to take a mental assessment of that, right? Because we all say things that are not the most kind, right? Everyone falls to doing that from time to time. And so I just want you to take a mental scan of the times where you may have said something, or there are things that you say to him that make him feel disrespected, unappreciated, blamed, or rejected. Okay. And then, excuse me, I was just getting a Facebook message. I wanted to make sure that everything was good with this feed. It looks like it is. So the second question I want you to ask yourself is, what are the things that you actually do to make him feel disrespected, unappreciated, blamed, or rejected? So the first question is, what are the things you may say? The second question is, what are the things you may do? Do you, if he's trying to do something that's not up to your standard, do you sort of take over? Or if he offers to try to plan something, do you, take over, right? We are very, intentional about the things we like and we don't like. And sometimes that comes off as a little bit of disrespect. If you like things a certain way and he's doing it a different way, do you complain about that? Do you take over? Those are just some examples, right? So I want you to think about, what are the things you may say and what are the things you may do. And then the third question, and here's the bright side to all of this, the third question I want you to ask yourself is, how do I actually want him to feel when he's around me? Okay? So lots of times we're just thinking about what it is we want. It's very common when I speak with women and I'm coaching my clients, the conversation is always about what it is that they want, how they want to feel, why they're upset that he's being distant. And so I want you to develop the habit and the practice of putting yourself in his shoes. And I want you to think about how you want him to feel. What is it that you want him to get a sense of when he's around you? And I'm sure it's nothing but positive things, right? But when someone is distant, you sort of feel some type of way about it, and you complain and you withdraw, and you don't really keep in mind how you actually want them to feel and how you can actually draw them in. Okay, so that's the third question, is think about how you want him to feel. And then now we're going to move you to action, right? I want you to ask yourself, what can I say to make him feel that way? So if in the third question you said you want him to feel supported, right? Or you want him to feel loved, what are the things you can actually say to him that would make him feel that way? Okay. And then the fifth question, what are the things you can actually do to make him feel that way? And those are the 5 questions, right? So once you go through that process of really identifying what it is that you've done, intentional, unintentional, whatever it is, he's perceived it as being disrespected, unappreciated, blamed, or rejected, right? That's your answer. That's your answer to why he's so distant. It's not that he's just made up in his mind that he wants to be a jerk to you or that he wants to make you feel bad. It's usually a response to something he perceived that you did. Again, whether it's one day, 1 minute, or over a series of days, weeks, months, years even, to get him to that place, okay? So those are the questions I want you to answer for yourself. And that's just the pre-work, right? So hopefully you've got that down pat, because what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go through a 5-step process for you to actually now move to the place of getting the attention that you want, right? So we figured out what's going on with those questions. We figured out how you want him to feel. So keep that in the back of your mind, what you answered to that third question. How do you want him to feel? And then we're going to move into action, okay? So here's the things. What I want you to know is that the stuff that I'm about to share, this 5-step process, is not rocket science. It's things that you may have heard before, things you may have read about before if you've been following me or read any of my blogs. But there's something that's getting in the way of you actually doing it, right? And in order for you to sort of move through that resistance, You've got to let your ego step out of the way. Okay. You've got to get rid of the excuses. You've got to get rid of the blame. And you've got to move into a place of moving forward with effort and with empowerment, right? So this, lesson I'm getting right now is not to sort of make you feel bad that it's all your fault. No, that's not it at all. But it's about recognizing what you've been doing and how to change that, right? And you are the captain of this ship in your home, right? You set the tone for your marriage. And I really want you to see that. I really want you to understand that, okay? And before I go into these 5 steps, I want your commitment that you're actually going to do them, right? So even before I say a word, I want you to just sit in the moment of thinking about how you're feeling right now in your marriage. That when you come home, how you feel, right? I want you to just sit in that for a moment and really just think about how this is not what you want, how this is not what you would have imagined when you walked down that aisle and said, I do, right? You wanted something where you're like really close and connected and he's your best friend. And right now you're not feeling that. And so you have the choice to either continue doing what you've always been doing that's gotten you exactly where you are now, or you have the choice to really commit to doing it differently, right? And I don't just make up these ideas. I don't just come up with these things in my sleep. These are tried and true methods, time-tested methods, research-based methods. I'm a researcher by training. So everything that I'm sharing and recommending to you has been backed by tons of research studies, okay? And my own personal experience of working with my own clients and seeing it happen in their own lives. And I want the same for you. And so you have to ask yourself, do you want that? Do you want things to be different? And if you do, if you're still with me, then you're going to say, yes, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Okay? And so if you're just joining me live, I'm live streaming from the computer, and so I cannot actually see your comments, but I will check them before I sign off. Okay? So if you're still with me, if you really have committed to doing whatever it takes, that you're going to let go of all those excuses, you're going to stop pointing the finger at blame at him, then let's go, right? Let's get to these steps. So the first thing is to be nice all the time, right? This is almost like something you would hear teachers telling preschool children, right? I have a 2-year-old daughter, and so I'm really in that mode. Be nice all the time, right? You have to treat your husband with kindness. And that sounds so simple. It sounds like, of course, but right, that that's not always the case. That when you think about how you might treat a stranger at the grocery store, a stranger at church, or out at a restaurant, you're on your best behavior, right? You're extending all those common courtesies. You say please, you say thank you show interest in what they have to say, you're welcoming, right? You've got to do more of that in your marriage. If your husband is distant, he doesn't feel welcomed by you. And again, it's not that I'm pointing the finger at you and only saying what you are doing wrong, right? I'm sure he's doing some things that could be done differently, right? The results you're seeing are the interaction of the two of you. But I'm talking to you about the things that you have the power to control. And the only thing you have the power to control is you. And so, a lot of times it's easy to let that kindness slide when you're in a bad mood or when you're frustrated or when you're overwhelmed. And what happens is you get in those moods and you say things that aren't nice, and you just expect that your husband will accept it, that he'll understand it, that he'll give you a pass. And that's true. A lot of the times, yes, he will give you a pass, but for only so long, right? I want you to think for yourself. If you were with someone that was constantly annoyed, frustrated, how often would you give them a pass? At some point, it would sort of get to you. And you can't just expect him to say, that's how she gets sometimes, it's okay, right? Because that doesn't make any sense. And so I really want you to get in the habit of being nice all the time, all the time. And if you slip up, clean it up real quickly, right? With an apology, just as you would for a stranger. How can we be more kind to a stranger than the person we love the most? Okay, that's number one. Be kind all the time. Number two is be available. Okay, so if you're feeling that your husband is very distant, that there's a disconnection, that you're detached from each other, you've got to be available, right? So it's likely that you guys have gotten into these habits that really make it hard for you to connect, even if you wanted to, right? And I want you to sort of just take an assessment of your activities from the moment you walk in the door, right? From work, from wherever, the moment you walk in the door. Are you rushing to get a million things done? And once everything's done, are you then so exhausted that all you want to do is go to bed? I know that feeling. My clients know that feeling. We talk about it all the time. And, if there's a bit of a disconnection between you and your husband, then he's feeling it too, right? You don't live in a vacuum. So if you're feeling it, he's feeling it. And the chances are he doesn't actually really know what to do about it, right? You seem so busy. You seem so overwhelmed. He can't even get in, right? And what I want you to do is just for a moment imagine back to your teenage years, right? And think about a boy who may have had a crush on you, or think about what that experience is like when someone has a crush on someone else, right? They're sitting there watching that person from a distance, replaying in their mind what they want to say, how they'll approach them. And imagine, your husband sitting there thinking about well, how do I talk to my wife about this? How's she going to react? Right? And he gets up the courage to do it, because it's not always easy to engage in conversation with each other. He gets up the courage to do it, but then you're off rushing to take care of one of the kids, right? It's almost like that teenage boy who's walking in the hallway trying to talk to the pretty girl, and then the big, football player comes up and starts talking to her, or her best friend does, or the bell rings, or whatever. That moment of opportunity is missed because she wasn't available to him. And so I want you to just consider, are you really available to your husband? And will he perceive you as being available? Because you may think you're available, but would he perceive it? If you're sitting on the couch, or if you're in the bedroom and he's in another room and you're on Facebook or you're watching TV, in his mind, you're unavailable. Now, yes, you're probably wishing he would come and interrupt you, but he doesn't know that. He can't read your mind. So I really want you to pay attention and to make yourself available. Okay? So point number one was be kind all the time. Point number two, be available. Number three is be welcoming. It goes along with being kind, but really be welcoming, right? And I always like to think of church for some reason whenever I think about this concept of, you have the hospitality committee at church, right? And so imagine you're a new visitor and you walk in the door and there is this lovely person greeting you with a warm smile, asking you, can I help you with something? This happens in department stores as well, if that's a better example for you. But how do you feel? You feel welcomed. You're like, yeah, hi, I'm new here. Tell me. You want to engage in conversation with them, right? But also imagine that you go to the church or you go to the department store and you're needing some help. You're wanting to sort of find your way, but there's, the people that are supposed to be there to support you, encourage you, greet you, are busy doing other things, and they're so stressed out about it, right? They don't have time for you, right? Imagine those two experiences. And if you were talking with a friend the next day and she's like, oh, I want to go to this church, or oh, I want to go to this store, what would be your recommendation? You'd probably be like, no, don't go there. In the case where the customer service wasn't good, you'd be like, don't go there. Or you'd be like, yes, absolutely go there. They take such good care of you. It felt like home to me, right? You want your husband to feel like you're home to him, right? And that can be as simple as a warm smile, a hug when he walks in the door. I often think about this amazing story that really is always stuck in my mind when my husband and I were taking our premarital counseling classes before we got married. There was a couple that had been married for like probably 30 years. And the husband told the story of how when he would come home from work, he would actually ring the doorbell and his wife would come and greet him. He had the key. He'd totally walk in. But that was their thing, right? That he wanted to be welcomed by her, and it was her honor to do that for him, right? And so how do you greet your husband when he walks in the door? Is it a quick hello and you're off to something else? Or does he feel welcomed, right? Again, these are the things that if you want the attention, that if you want him to not be so distant, these are the things that you have to do and you have to do on a consistent basis, right? And which brings me to point number 4 is to be consistent, right? A lot of these things, you may do it when you feel like it, right? Let's just be honest. You may do them when you feel like it, but it's not consistent. And so, on Monday, maybe you're in a good mood. Maybe you guys had a good weekend together. And so it's easy for you to do those things, right? You're led by your emotions and you feel like, yeah, I want to do that. That's fine. I don't have any problem doing that. But let you have a bad day, right? Let him rub you the wrong way, and then you don't feel like it. And then you're ruled by your emotion, and you don't do these things. And then you wonder why there's distance, right? It takes consistency. And if you're in sort of this negative zone, think of it like a bank account, right? If your relationship is sort of in a negative withdrawal space, right? It's going to take a lot of consistent deposits to raise it, right? You're overdrawn in your marriage account right now. And it's not going to be, $1 here or $2 every Wednesday. It's got to be $1 every single day or $5 every single day to work your way out of it. And so you have to be consistent. It's not about when you're in a good mood. It's not about when you feel like it. If you're really committed to having a happy marriage, if you're really committed to experiencing the connection and the love and the joy that you signed up for, then you have to be consistent, and you have to be consistent in going after that, right? You have to be determined to have that in your marriage, and consistency is the key for that. And then the 5th piece to all of this, which is in many ways so important, is patience. To be patient. And this is the hardest part. I'm going to admit it. This is the hardest part when I'm working with clients, when I'm talking to women on the phone. This is the hardest part, is being patient. Everybody wants instant results, right? That you're not in it for the long haul. You're not willing to make the effort for as long as it takes. But if you can develop that attitude, if you can develop this mentality of however long it takes, whatever it takes, right? Then you have this persistence that you can't do anything but win. Like, your happiness is guaranteed, right? If you're committed and patient. And, I can't guarantee you that it's going to happen in 3 days or 3 months. I can't guarantee you that. But you've got to still develop patience within yourself. You've got to cultivate patience within yourself, because eventually it will happen. You have to turn the tide of this negative cycle that you guys have gotten yourself into. And it starts with you. It starts with you. And I know a lot of times you get so frustrated because you want it to happen right away and it's not happening, and you're not seeing evidence that it's happening, which is a whole nother topic of how to sort of focus your mind on the things you want to create and bring to life in your marriage. I have some blog posts on that, so definitely check that out if you really do want to be more positive in your thinking, right, and more patient. And, the thing that always helps when you're trying to develop patience is to really focus inward. Again, turning that mirror back on yourself and thinking about what is it that I'm supposed to learn during this time of testing, right? What is it that I'm supposed to learn? How am I supposed to grow, right? And to be a more patient person, which is probably the number one thing that women I speak to want to develop within themselves. In order to be a more patient person, you have to have experiences that test your patience. There's no other way to develop patience but to be in experiences that are not happening the way you want as fast as you want. And that's how you develop patience, right? And that's the 5 steps, right? So I'll just do a really quick recap. Number 1 is be kind all the time. It will get you the attention you want. I promise you, be kind all the time. Everybody likes to be around people who are happy and kind, right? And the second is be available. If you're wanting to connect with your husband, make yourself available to him. Don't put up barriers and walls that make it hard for him to connect with you. Number 3 is be welcoming, right? Imagine you're like hospitality ministry. Imagine you're like the best sales associate at Nordstrom where everyone is like always waiting to help you, right? Be consistent. This is not a when the wind blows, when I feel like it type of thing. You have to make up your mind, be committed. Every day, I will be kind. Every situation, I will be kind. Every moment, I will be welcoming, right? And then number 5 is be patient. Be patient. You didn't get to this place in one day, and you're not going to get out of it in one day, right? Now, here's the reality of all of the stuff I've been sharing with you, is that a lot of people are going to watch this training. A lot of people are going to actually even take notes on what I'm saying, but only 2%, I think studies show this, like 2% of people will actually apply the information in their lives. And I asked you, even before I got into these 5 steps, like, are you really committed to this? And you said yes, right? You said yes because you're still here watching. And the reason that only a few people will actually apply these to their lives on a consistent basis is because it's really hard to do. It requires you to change something about the way you've been operating. And most people are information consumers, meaning that they read every book, they buy every training, they watch every video, they read every blog post. They have like heaps and heaps of information. They could probably have a PhD and like the things you're supposed to be doing to make your marriage better, right? And yet they're still stuck exactly where they've always been, or maybe in some cases worse off. I can't tell you how many times I'll be on an assessment call with someone. I do offer a marriage assessment, and then I make 3 very specific recommendations that are tailored and personalized to exactly what people are dealing with in their marriage. I can't tell you how many times I'll follow back up with people to see, like, were you able to do what I suggested? How's it working for you? And they're in the exact same place. They're like, oh yeah, right? And the only thing you need to do is to do it, right? You don't need to gather more information. You don't need to like try to convince your husband to be different. You just need to act on the information that you've already received, right? And so what I want you to do right now is just ask yourself this question, like, which category of person am I, right? Am I the type of person that's going to get this information, pile it on with all the other videos, live streams, content that I've consumed and let it sit there? Or am I going to be that action taker that actually makes a commitment right here, right now, to do the things that I've just been taught to do, right? And I just want you to remember, having the information is not going to create the change that you want in your marriage. It's not. Understanding the information is not going to create the change you want in your marriage. You have to be the change, right? And that requires that you build the skills and that you do these things consistently, right? If you're trying to lose weight right now, which many of us are, that 20 pounds is not just going to like come off while you're sleeping, right? It's not going to come off because you read the diet book, right? It's not going to come off because you reactivated your gym membership. It's not going to come off because you bought that healthy food at the grocery store, right? No, you need to follow the plan. You need to get on the treadmill or whatever, and you need to make the recipes, right? And some of you can actually do that on your own, right? You can get this content that I'm sharing. You can, take your notes. You can set your reminders to be kind, to be welcoming, to be available on a consistent basis. You can practice patience. You can do that on your own. A very small percentage of people can actually do that. And if that's you, more power to you. Save this video and refer to it as you need it, right? But then there's a portion of you who are like, man, I know myself. Like, I've been reading up on this stuff. I've been thinking about doing many of these things, and I may actually just need some help, right? I just may actually just need someone to hold me accountable, someone to guide me and to make sure that I stay on track, right? I think back to when I was trying to get all perfect shape, right, for my wedding. And there was a personal trainer at the gym, and I was like, listen, I've been trying to lose weight and get fit for this dress all by myself. And, I actually need some help. And I can't tell you, in probably the 3 months that I worked with him, like, I worked harder, I trained harder, I had more results faster than anything I could have done on my own, right? And sometimes that's just what it takes. It doesn't mean that you're inadequate in any way. It just means, like, why not get the help from someone who's an expert at this, who can show you the most effective and quick ways to get the results that you want, right? Nobody has time to let those pounds stay there. Nobody has time to watch their marriage fall apart day after day after day, right? And sometimes you just need some help. You just need someone who can come in, see things from a different perspective, and guide you on the way, right? And that's what I do. I love to do it. I love the work that I do with my clients. It is such an honor and such a privilege for me to have conversations with people where just one question I ask them can make the difference in everything they've been thinking. And it really can happen. Like, empowering questions, which is a technique I often use, can like open your mind to seeing things in a completely new way that you never, ever, ever would have thought of on your own. And that's my honor to do that. Even in our time together now, hopefully I've shared something that's like, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And if that's what you've found, I'm so glad that you've tuned in. I'm so honored and grateful for technology, as wobbly as it can be sometimes. I'm so glad that we've connected in this way. And I hope that you really take to heart the things that I have just shared, right? And if you find that, I'm a little bit interested, maybe Dr. Siobhan can actually help me get to where I'm trying to go a little bit faster. If you're interested in having a conversation with me and learning more about how I can help you in your very specific situation, I would be honored to talk with you. Honored. So you can go to my website, find my information there. You can send me a private message on Facebook. If you're really serious about it, you'll find a way to get in contact with me, right? I'm very easily found. You can friend request me, whatever. I'm here for you. So I want you to know that that is an option that you can absolutely explore, and we can have a conversation at any time that you're ready. So again, if your husband is distant, right? I want you to really ask yourself those 5 questions to understand why. What are the things you may say? What are the things you may do to make him feel unappreciated, disrespected, blamed, or rejected, right? And then I really want you, after you've gotten that out of the way, because we don't really like to think about that, after you've gotten that out of the way, think about how you want him to feel. You want him to feel loved, right? Think about how you want him to feel, and then go create that. Go create that by being kind all the time, which was number 1. Go create that by being available. Go create that by being welcoming. Go create that by being consistent. And go create that by being patient. So, thank you so much for tuning in. I will check the comments, and if there are any, I will comment and respond to every um, comment that's there, even after this post. And excuse me, as my alarm is going off on my phone. But it has been my honor to be with you this afternoon. If you found this valuable, if you think anyone else will find it valuable, hit the share button and spread this message because I know that it can help someone. Thank you so much for joining me. And I will be back tomorrow, right? So this is day 1 of 3 days. Where's the Love series? I will be back with you tomorrow. I'm really excited about tomorrow's message. It's going to be really good. So make sure you join me tomorrow, 12 noon. I will have my technology all worked out by then. So make sure you tune in tomorrow, 12 noon, for my live stream. And it'll be shorter tomorrow. I'll do a better job with my time. But I was just so passionate about this topic because it happens to women all the time if they feel their husband is being distant. So hopefully you got something you will use and implement. And I'll be back with you tomorrow for the live stream at 12 noon. All right, take care. Bye-bye.